Hey everybody, I guess I should start talking since this is recording. Happy Wednesday. Today we are talking about body detox part 2. And I'm actually adding one more class because I didn't want to have to crowd everything together. So I added a class for June 2nd to kind of finish things up and do case studies. So today we can just kind of focus on the content of customizing your treatment plan based on your symptoms. So it should be pretty interesting. We'll get into also some additional detox techniques that we didn't hit last time. So I see a few people are on. That's awesome. If you're on, hi Susan. If you're on YouTube Live, you can leave comments a little more easily. Facebook, you need to click a little permission button to let me be able to see your name. Sorry about that. There's some kind of internet problem. I don't know what it was. Hopefully that won't happen again. Let me close a few more tabs. That's like my answer to everything. Okay. All right. Hopefully that does it. I think I might have lost a person or two in that process. Okay, so I'll just go over a little bit more announcements, which is on Thursday, 6/2, we'll have an additional class with me and Coach Mickey doing a little wrap up and talking about labs and case studies. So that's going to be a really awesome one. It'll be at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 Eastern. So I'll put that in the group. And then there'll be a call on 6/9, which is also a Thursday, about like a training program about binders. So that's not part of book club, but it's optional. If you purchase the binder, you got the webinar training and a guide to binders. So you guys, this just came out and it's like a lot more laxative than when I was testing it out. So I don't actually recommend it if you are having loose stool, diarrhea. I really would just recommend it if you tend to constipation. Um, so I'm not quite sure what happened, but that's what's happening now. So I'm glad I'm able to share that with you. But if you do want to try it out or join the binders class, I'll put that link in the chat. And I think it's in the Facebook group too. And then my last announcement is the call with Jason Earl from Got Mold. I had to push back a bit because I'm going to be like out of internet. So that will be the 6/13. It's a Monday at noon Pacific. So I'll put all those updates in the group for you. Yeah, somebody gave me like the laughy face emoji. Yes, it is a laughy face. But at least hopefully we're learning before, I don't know. Life happens. Sometimes I'm making people poop. Great. So I'm just going to start with the slides and just if you have questions or comments as we go, just put them on in there. Thanks for being here. I don't know if this is a little tough with this time of year, but I'm glad a few people are here. That's awesome. Okay. Okay. I think you can see yes. Oops. Okay, so our usually disclaimers. Please also have a practitioner you're working with. This is just meant as education. Also have professionals with your house to deal with mold there. And yeah, I mentioned we'll get into some detox techniques we didn't cover last time, and then some symptoms and what to do about them. We won't really do case studies. We're just going to do questions because we have the extra class coming up. So everybody's definitely different with detox and what they need. So, for example, I just mentioned this binder. I'm not a constipated person at all. This is like not a fit for me. But some of our clients are quite constipated. Taking a lot of magnesium every night. We sell a product called Bowel Mover. So it's just um, some people can't tolerate any binder. Some people can't tolerate the sauna. So, be willing to just keep experimenting till you find what works for you. And just to back it up, we can't get better in a moldy place. So if that means you're camping or living with relatives or whatever it is, do the work to move. And then we talked about the foundations. Again, being out of mold, getting a good night's sleep, making sure you're eating real food, making sure you're not exposing yourself to chemicals. We talked about the top detox supplements and the top detox techniques, according to me. And here's some additional techniques. Castor oil packs was really a close call for top 5. I think for me personally, they don't have an immediate effect, but for some clients, they do. Better night's sleep, bowel movements. It has a lot of benefits for like mood, potentially a lot of things, but it's also detoxifying, glutathione, recycling, kind of gut soothing. So, also good for period pain, that kind of a thing. I guess you can use it too. I learned from the woman who made this company to like grow your eyelashes and your eyebrows, and so it has like actually a lot of powerful things. It's pretty easy to do. It's pretty affordable. This is the company I like because this pack is really easy to use, and the castor oil is organic and bottled in glass. It lasts a really long time, and you can find this kit at bridgitdanner.com under my favorites. So you just wrap you put in 2 tablespoons of castor oil, and then you wrap the abdomen. This company advocates for doing it overnight, but I just advocate for doing it. I think it's too messy for me personally to do overnight. So I usually do it now when I'm in the sauna. That's my spot. Here's a little drink I made up while I was going through detox, and getting more greens is helpful. So this is just cilantro and some kind of other greens. Um, a lemon is nice, like alkalizing, kind of flushing. And then I do some honey, which I really don't think is bad for you, but I always get questions about it. If you don't want to put the honey, you don't have to. But honey has a lot of like health benefits too, and it's not meant to be a smoothie, it's just a drink. So you actually do strain it. Again, you probably don't have to, but that's kind of how it's meant to be. Um, and this is, I'm trying to think, I think this will be on your book club bonuses, and I think it's in the book as well. Nasal rinse, I did a lot of while I was recovering because I had this post nasal drip. So I would do it twice a day back in the day. And I like this one on the left is like a rinse kit, and it has these little salt packets. You can just buy it like at Walgreens, Amazon. On the right is a silver nasal spray, so a little quicker and easier to do if you're kind of in a hurry. You can also do the one on the right for Marcon's protocol. I can't remember if we talked about that yet or not. And if you're cleaning out your house or you're still in the house, this can be a great way to not let like mold be collecting in your nose and irritating your brain. So, if you're still getting exposed, doing the rinses, I think is good. So yeah, the protocol is 2 months of 3 times a day using the silver spray with the biocidin. You can use a biocidin liposomal. Also, we don't have that in our store, but this is one protocol for that chronic infection in your nose. Oil pulling is just pulling oil through your teeth. You can use different oils like sesame. I always used to use coconut oil. Your mouth is a big source of potential infection and inflammation. So keeping it kind of balanced and not with like unfriendly bacterial overgrowth can reduce some of that load on your body. Also, things like using a water pick. Having just really good oral hygiene actually takes some burden off your body at this point in time. So, this is in the book, but here's a little bit more about it. And you can do a little clove oil. I really love this Dental Sidon LS mouthwash. And you can just like a small amount. So here's what all that looks like. And on the far right is the Dental Sidon toothpaste, which is one of the top selling products in our shop. But the mouthwash is also totally awesome, I think. I think people are just more used to brushing their teeth, so they buy the toothpaste kind of first. Rebounding. This is one adorable picture of a woman on her rebounder. It's great for moving lymph and blood. It can give you some movement, especially if you're not able to exercise fully. It can kind of renew your energy during the day. So, if you're in a slump, you can do it like just for a minute or two, several times a day. There's actually like longer rebounder workouts too. Yeah, 1 minute, 5 times a day is sometimes recommended, or you can do a little longer. I mean, always something is kind of better than nothing, even if you only hop on there once or twice a day. So I don't think I covered all the techniques that are in the book, but you can read for more. Uh, Let me just make sure. I just want to check for questions. Oh, Abigail said if you have a maternity belly band and put it over the pack, it contains the mess overnight. Cool. That's a great suggestion. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Okay, so when I was trying to think about how to organize all the symptoms, or I'm sorry, all the like possible, solutions and everything to mold, I decided to organize it by like most common symptoms. So number one is usually fatigue. And there's lots of possible causes here, right? So you can read all these on the screen. Fatigue can be emotional, it can be, lots of things. I think the iron deficiency doesn't get, checked enough. Um, you might not be sleeping well because of your mold exposure. Definitely your mitochondria will be affected. You definitely could have, coexisting heavy metal infection, um, low thyroid function. The thyroid can be really take a hit from all these toxins. Your adrenals can be taking a hit from the stress of it, and also just like the cellular toxin exposure. So, lots of potential reasons. So, it's good to kind of think about all of it and, kind of think about where things overlap for you. So, like I mentioned, you can, blood test for iron, thyroid hormones, testosterone. You can do urine tests for that too. We'll talk more about that next time. Blood sugar. Most of you guys are eating pretty well, but some people are still having too much processed carbs, especially at night, or too many carbs at night. Um, that can contribute to some weight gain, that kind of thing. You can do a check for heavy metals. I wouldn't do that early in the process, just really for most folks, because it's too much to be trying to detox everything, but just kind of putting that as an option. If you're going through mold or you think you are, I think first thing is to start with a mycotoxin test and just see where you're at. And then to start to, definitely change your environment, do the foundation, start to detox. And then in the kind of the long uh, road to recovery, then you can be adding more testing potentially. I guess the exception would be these last three tests here can be all bundled together so you can see, you know, uh, not only mycotoxins, but how other things are affecting your body. So we'll talk more about that next week. So there's some things that can help you quickly for fatigue, like that rebounding we mentioned. Coffee enemas helped me a lot when I was at my sickest. Just, sniffing some essential oils, walking up and down some breathing, just putting on some music can be helpful. Sometimes you're dehydrated. So doing some electrolytes could be good. Um, Sticking with your circadian rhythm and getting up early and getting to bed on time. So there's sort of the short term and then there's a longer term. Whoops. I really like glandulars when you're in a deep fatigue and you want to work with somebody who can help you with this and make sure you're doing it appropriately. But if you are having like deep adrenal exhaustion per some lab testing, I really like it. So it's basically animal glands and your body takes them in really well. If that doesn't appeal to you, there's also adaptogenic herbs that basically do what they say and like help your body adapt to stress and give your body help where it needs it. I have some things in here about iron, CoQ10, which we learned about last call. Um, I think I have one more page. Oh no, I don't. Uh, so yeah, it's just kind of matching the remedy with what you're experiencing, and you can read more about it in the book. And also in the book is a bit about the cell danger response. So this is one way that the body gets fatigued is when the mitochondria feel threatened. They kind of dump ATP as a defense mechanism, which isn't good because you need that for energy. And I often get the question when we post about this, like on social media, well, what do you do about it? Well, you remove the triggers, right? Like you don't want the body still exposed to mold and stress and chemicals. Um, that's probably the most important, calming the nervous system. And then, getting nature, getting rest, doing a lot of those foundations we talked about. And then while you're slowly detoxing and returning these nutrients to the body that your body wants. I guess this is a slide about it. I forgot. Yeah, and I mentioned EMF in here, which I mentioned pretty briefly in the book, but some people become very sensitive to EMF, especially when they have a leaky brain. So that can mean, avoiding cell phones and using different protective devices while you're healing. Second most common symptom, I think, is brain fog. And that can often look like you can't remember words or little like factoids that but you can't pull them up. Or just kind of trouble processing, trouble learning, trouble focusing. For me, I still have some of this last one where I can't work for long periods of time, although I feel like it is a little better lately. I want to point out that brain fog can coincide with other issues. And how can I say? The brain isn't just in charge of thinking, the brain is in charge of everything through its feedback mechanisms and the vagus nerve. And so often when there's constipation, for example, we talked about earlier, a lot of that is coming from the brain. It's just not stimulating digestion. So you're nauseous, you're not hungry. And then neurological, like muscle issues, can be from the brain as well. So here's some causes of brain fog. And some possible tests. Again, we'll talk more about that, or you can check the book. There's some really interesting tests now for the brain's health. The brain loves fish oil, especially DHA. It's really important. So I really, really recommend you be getting it during this time because your brain is struggling and you want to give it what it needs. It also loves magnesium. So we sell a magnesium glycinate. That's really well absorbed. Magnesium 3 and 8, you may have heard of, is supposed to have an affinity for the brain itself. You may need a pretty, a higher dose. I take 300 or 400 a day still. That's not that high actually, but getting up to 600 is high. I couldn't take that much because it would make me poop, but some people that's the fit for them. I also like this product called phosphatidylcholine. It's very helpful for brain fog. Kind of reduces inflammation at the cellular wall. And what was I going to say? It's a spendy supplement. I think it's $69. If your brain is really not working, I think it's worthwhile. It's quite good. But really, we want to rebuild the brain barrier by rebuilding the gut barrier. So that's improving the gut microbiome, getting in real foods, antioxidants, and that is going to in turn benefit the brain barrier and the brain. So a lot of brain healing is actually gut healing and good diet. So here's a few more things I like. They are all in the book. I'll just give a shout out to my chiropractor who invented this one called Focus that's in the middle there. It's really gentle and it's not overstimulating, but it does help me focus on my work. And this is the PC I talked about earlier. And I love this quote because she's tried everything and she really responded to this product, which is, I think, what a lot of people are going to find. Some people have reported a little die-off reaction from it. So it's a liquid, so you can always take less. Okay. Pain and headaches. I think for me, there was a lot of this in my journey. I don't hear about it as much. I'd be curious if people want to write in the chat. Do you have like chronic pain, chronic headaches in your mold journey? Be actually super curious about that. Sometimes it comes from detoxing. A lot of times it comes from high histamines or just that chronic inflammation in your body. But there's other reasons it could come as well. I do think you have to care for your physical body with movement and massage and chiropractic, that kind of thing. But also you have to just be thinking about like sources of inflammation and that kind of a thing. So like for me, I have some neck issues that will lead to headaches kind of from being on a computer, but definitely caffeine will also kind of trigger some pain in my neck. So there's physical things you can do or things in the moment. And then there's longer term choices. And some local things may be nice for you if you have access to them. But, do the diet first. Make sure you're doing the basics before you're spending money on outside therapies. But outside therapies can be amazing. I practiced acupuncture for 13 years. It's very, very good for pain. Don't ask me if it's good for, for mold because I didn't really focus on it back then. I think it's good for supporting the body in general. I'll say that. And for calming, which is really important for healing. Indigestion, pretty common if you're going through mold. Some people are lucky and they don't feel a lot of digestive discomfort, but maybe they can't lose weight or they have a skin rash and that's still kind of coming from the gut. So, here are some possible symptoms you might be having. Again, some of it can come from the brain, and some of it's coming from the dysbiosis in the actual gut, uh, from the mold kind of creating this inflammatory environment and letting infections thrive. So just to back up, if I didn't explain this well enough, the brain creates a lot of the motility and stimulation of like stomach acid and enzymes, and like it's a lot of that is what the brain does. So lots of different diagnoses could be involved with digestive complaints. And you could have definitely a few things going on at once. The digestive system takes I generally think a long time to repair. I probably did, several rounds of different like kind of treatments to fix my gut. And I definitely did stool testing a few times. I did some other testing as well. I think this is stool testing is really helpful because otherwise you're kind of guessing what you're dealing with. However, I will say if you don't have the money to go that route, or um, maybe you're very sensitive to different treatments, really just restoring the gut through fibrous foods like good probiotics, whole foods, maybe things like marshmallow tea that it's good for the mucosa. If you can rebuild the gut and increase all the good things, sometimes you don't have to focus as much on like killing other things. So this is a long list, but it's in the book as well. It's a really it's a really long list. This might be better for some of the case studies to get into some of these products. So some of that brain stuff using things like ginger. There's a supplement I've never used, but it's called Iberogast. Or there's a supplement we do have called Megagard that gets things moving, can be good. It's gentle. It's sort of stimulating that peristalsis, that motility. Right, here's some other ideas. We're all so different. So I'm going to keep going back to this binder because um, it's on my mind lately. But yeah, I'm more of like things move quickly through me and I'm very easily irritated. And that's why I don't tolerate well parasite herbs and like really strong stuff. I don't do that well with it. I more need like the gentle building up. I need to be like constantly supporting my mucosal barrier. That's more my type. Or some people, some clients of mine, they can take anything and they can handle it, or they're more constipated. So you really have to cater it to what's going on for you. Okay, this one I kind of shoved in a few categories together because some people will have, like for me, I had some fatigue and food cravings. I gained a little weight, but not a lot of weight. So I think that it's just sort of blood sugar issues is the one I'm referring to in this category. But needing to eat often, maybe needing to pee often, which can also happen with mold, but it can happen with blood sugar issues, skin tags, which are pictured here, abdominal weight. Um, Lots of reasons: gut health, hormonal imbalances, insulin resistance. Insulin resistance can happen from mold, but from like also kind of eating too frequently, eating the wrong things. So again, you kind of have to match what's exactly happening with you to any testing you've had, or like if you're seeing a lot of same themes over and over. This continuous glucose monitoring is in the book. I love it. I wouldn't say it changed. I was dealing with some work related fatigue, and I thought, oh, maybe if I get like my fueling really nailed, I'll have more energy for my workday. It didn't really work for me, but it did teach me a lot about how to eat. And I think it's really great for like gaining muscle, losing weight, just learning how you, because every time you spike your blood sugar, it creates inflammation and you stress your body out. So you really want to avoid it. And it's great feedback for are you eating the right kind of meals? And the company I worked with, oh no, I'm gonna forget the name right now. I think there's a picture of it coming up. They give you a free nutritionist for a month, so it can be really great. You might not be needed right now when you're in the middle of mold, but down the road, it might be something that you want to try. So detoxing can help for weight loss and energy for sure. But here's some other little ideas. Here's some of my tips from glucose monitor. The company was NutriSense. It can kind of help challenge some things that you hear commonly. Like we hear, I don't know, like don't snack, right? And like I get that for your gut bacteria and stuff, but for me, it's a little more stabilizing to eat a little more often, but not just be eating carbs. So I need to eat some fat and protein if I'm going to have a snack. Um, but you need to get in a lot of protein in a day. So I think for my body type, I don't do as well on just three meals. Like having 4 or 5 times I eat is okay for me. This is what it looks like. Okay, immune, respiratory issues. I'm going to be speaking on a lung summit coming up here soon. So I'm getting ready for that now. So sometimes it can be, I guess you'd think of mold creating like asthma or something. I don't know, allergies, but it can be a lot of different things. It can be just like having to clear your throat a lot. And that's because you're having some mucusy drip. For me, I was just catching everything. I was just having like these little bugs constantly. Like every 2 weeks, I'd be sick. And that was just suppressed immunity. So you can see how your white blood cells are measuring up, so to speak. Um, Sometimes eating the wrong foods will make more mucus, like eggs or dairy or whatever, or even other foods if you're sensitive to them right now. So we talked about the silver spray. It also is a throat spray. Some of the herbal throat sprays I like a lot. I had a lot of problems with sore throat when I was going through everything. So I'm a bit of a specialist on that. That's also why I love the mouth taping and the nasal wash. I do love astragalus. I love antioxidants. Nettles and quercetin can be good for allergies. Definitely, you want to avoid dairy and sugar if your immune system is down. Mental health. This is a big category. It could be expressing for you in different ways. You can look at the brain itself. You can work with the therapist. Lots of ways to address it. Some of these herbals and nutraceuticals can be pretty cool for mental health. L-theanine is like nice and calming. GABA. What's the one I bought the other day? I forget what it's called. So I think feeling like your mental health is struggling and you're still in a moldy place is dangerous. Um, and I'm somebody who started to have suicidal thoughts from being in my home and being so exhausted. So it's really something you need to take seriously. Another common symptom is chemical sensitivities. For me, that usually is like a headache, but for other people, it could be a really fast heartbeat. So multiple chemical sensitivity is really interesting. It's the body is reacting to what it perceives as a threat. It is a threat by like releasing adrenaline and like kind of amping up your system. So besides avoiding some of these triggers, sometimes it's retraining the limbic system to not react so strongly. So there's courses about it, there's different therapies, but I also think just like resting, journaling, getting centered, just slowly like unwinding your nervous system, working through your traumas can be really helpful as well. But you also do want to limit your exposure for lots of reasons. Just keeping a really clean, low tox house is important. And not sleeping well. So it can have lots of causes. Often when we have mold, we're not making enough melatonin because of infections in our nose. We also might have parasites that are more active at night. This is a little picture of one on the right. You might be in pain. You might have unstable blood sugar. You might have stress, upset stomach. So here's some testing options. I don't know a ton about sleep apnea, but apparently a lot of people have it. So if you just feel like you just don't get rested at night, it could be something to look into. I really recommend supplementing if you don't sleep well. I don't understand why people avoid it. It's really not dangerous to do some calming herbs or some melatonin. Um, so, here's some ideas. Some people do benefit just from magnesium, and that might help them have a bowel movement in the morning. I like this supplement in the middle here called Qualia Night, although I think it might be called Qualia Sleep. I think I might have got that wrong, but it's by Qualia, and it's just to give you, like, a deeper sleep, and it totally works. That's what I've been using lately. But when I was sickest, even sometimes I would take a Benadryl. I just couldn't sleep, and it's better to get a good night's sleep than, like, not take something. Here's a couple we carry, although I may switch. This melatonin on the right is called sustained release. So it's supposed to kind of keep you asleep. I find that more of our clients are not staying asleep. So that can be blood sugar or some of the like liver issues that we mentioned. And this is the last one, hormonal imbalance. It can manifest in all kinds of ways. Mostly we test this with the Dutch test, but you could also get some blood testing from a physician. So there's lots of cool options for hormone imbalance. Broccoli seed and sprout can kind of like clear out excess estrogen, help you detox. Baral is like a seed oil that can be anti-inflammatory for your hormones. Maca is something that can help you with like periods and menopause. A lot of the detoxing stuff can be good, making sure you get a good night's sleep, avoiding alcohol. It was probably on the last slide because that can really throw off your hormones. Our Dutch hormone test it always has been our most popular test. It might be that mold testing is starting to one up it, but I'm not sure. This test is a really popular test. People really, people have a lot of symptoms and they're curious. Okay. me get back to you guys here. Hey, Crystal. I know you. Yeah, Crystal's asking that she said here, I can show the comment. That I had tried IV vitamin therapy well, right before I found out I had mold. Did I ever try it again? Wonder if it may help once out of the environment. Yeah, I like generally vitamin IV therapy. It can give you a nice boost if you're having immune issues, energy issues. There's a lot of options. It is not cheap, and I feel like it's getting more expensive. It's not covered by your insurance, but it definitely feels good. And they can put glutathione in there, vitamin C. Um, I used to run a clinic, and the naturopath who worked there would have clients no show, and she'd just like give me all the injections and stuff, and I loved it. I get like B12 injections. So yeah, I think it's totally like a valid option. I think in the book I was explaining that I was just doing all these things, trying all these things. I tried, detoxing, like a 1 month detox, IV therapy. Some of that stuff had kind of worked in the past, and I had mold. I just didn't know it. But it was like enough to get me through in the past. But I was like at the end of my rope, like it wasn't helping anymore by the time I progressed to this stage of my mold illness. So it wasn't helping in any like noticeable way. My fatigue was just super bad. I didn't find, let me see. I don't think I found out about pure PC until, I mean, I was out of mold like maybe 6 months when I found out about pure PC. And so I still wasn't doing great. And it definitely helped me. I think looking back, so when I used to have flare ups, then I would have like a 5 day headache. It sucked. And I would take magnesium, fish oil, and PC, and it would kind of calm it down. Um, Looking back, I think I had histamine overload. So I should have been taking out tea, taking like perilla seed extract, or doing like what's the like a Claritin, or I just didn't know, but those things did help. They help calm some inflammation. Probably I was doing coffee enemas around then also. Abigail says no pain or headaches. Yeah, that's great. I know. I think everybody's different, right? I had so much pain. My back was like, I'm also going to be in this pain summit. And I almost wasn't going to be in it, but I was like, I think people need to know that they can really be in pain from mold, because I was. Um, Abigail asked about which standard process adrenal product do I recommend. So they make a few adrenal formulas, like they're made from like pig and cow. Maybe that's it. So I can't remember the names of all of them now. But I will say, I know I said standard process in the book. I've been taking one from Designs for Health. It's called Adrenal Complex, and it has glandulars and some vitamins, and I really like it. And it's easier to get. Standard process is kind of a headache to get a hold of. So I would just do probably the Designs for Health Adrenal Complex. Next, I'm going to test their herbal only version and see how I think it compares. Some people can be a little intimidated by glandulars, or maybe it's too strong or whatever, but I love them. I do feel like it makes a difference for me. And you could take it morning and lunch if you want. Because for me, I slump more in the afternoon, or you could take it just at lunch. When I was really sick, I took a lot of it. I took like 9 pills of like a standard process. I didn't know I had mold, so I was just doing whatever I could to like get through. But yeah, I really like the Designs for Health one, and I'm pretty sure it's called Adrenal Complex. We may start to carry it in our shop later this year. because I think most of us need adrenal support going through this process. And it's so stressful too. Yeah, some mold species are definitely kidney toxic. I forget the names of the strains. I don't know if it's in my book either, but I've read about that as well. Yeah, Crystal, you might really love the glutathione. And sometimes they'll sell you packages or whatever. Like, there's ways to you know, there's definitely variations in prices. You could probably even get like a deal on what's that thing where everything's half price? I can't remember what it's called anymore. It's like, I don't know, it's really popular for a while. A Groupon, there we go. You could probably get a Groupon even for different IV places to save money. You can also get Groupons for hyperbaric oxygen. This things out, it's a little cheaper. Oh, she said ochratoxin A in the kidneys. Okay. Susan said one of the few foods she tolerates right now is white rice. Um, I think it's okay, Susan. Like, you've got to eat something. But yeah, somebody else responded that they're good. Yeah, you can. So one way to remove arsenic from rice is to like soak it overnight and then rinse it. And another way to make it let more like lower carb content is to put it in the fridge and then just warm it up slightly so that you're not get hot out of the rice cooker. There are rices that are less heavy in arsenic too. I don't know if Susan you meant the arsenic or you meant more that it's a carb. So I would have the rice in the morning, ideally, maybe a little at lunch. Rice at dinner is trouble. You better just have a little and then a lot of fat with it if you're going to have rice at dinner. So try to avoid that. That's what I learned from my glucose monitor. So if I would have like rice with like a heavy curry with coconut milk, it would be better. But if I had like a stir fry with rice, it would not be very good. Okay, you guys are pretty easy today with your questions, but I can take more. I know, Crystal. I'm okay. I'm okay with getting the bargains. Like, we need to save money in this process. Um, and then you can shop around for what you like too. Lymphatic massage could be another one to find on Groupon, or regular massage, acupuncture. Now they have like acupuncture, chains that are affordable. Abigail's asking techniques for specific mycotoxins. No, I haven't heard techniques for specific mycotoxins, but binders can go to specific mycotoxins, and I don't have that whole list like memorized, but we did look it up to make our binder, which I warned people earlier will also make you poop. So be careful, make sure you want that if you are going to buy it. But no, I haven't heard any technique specific, which is kind of nice. Like, all the techniques detox all sorts of things, chemicals, metals. Lead is maybe one that's not going to come out from using the sauna, but I think the nice thing to kind of cut down on testing and yada yada is just like do a lot of detox techniques. See, see too, and just do them all the time and do them for life. I mean, I still do mine. Yeah, ochratoxin A is not a nice one. Yeah, can contribute to migraines. So magnesium is so great for headaches. I've been doing some research on it. We have a sale coming up on it. So that's it, and if you're dealing with headaches, a nice kind of headache preventer. Cinda said, I have Graves' hyperthyroid, and my doc doesn't. Here, let me put your question up. My doc doesn't want me taking an iodine or fish that could have iodine. Oh, that's a good question. I don't think there's iodine in fish oil. Let me go look though. Let's just Google it. The other alternative to fish oil is like an algae oil, but it's also from the sea, so it could, have iodine potentially, or it's just more expensive. Okay, so according to the first thing I found, it could have some, but it's like going to be really low. Um, we could look up the one we sell for you too, Cinda, but it looks like, let's see, says, although fish oil does not contain enough iodine to cause thyroid problems or any iodine related health problems, it is associated with certain health risks. Okay, well, this bleeding with liver disease, low blood pressure, affecting your medications. Um, okay, well, it sounds like it doesn't have much, negligible amount of iodine. Yeah, you actually might be safer with a fish oil than a kelp, like a algae kind of oil. Although I don't think the algae oil they use to make the pills is kelp, but I could be wrong. So we have a brand of fish oil, Cinda, that, it's definitely tested for heavy metals, and it's in a form that's called triglyceride, which is like the structure of the fats is like well absorbed. But I've never had this iodine question before, so I never had looked it up for our own iodine or our own fish oil, but ours is called omega concentrate, and it's a good one for the brain because it's got a good rich amount of DHA. So I don't think, and some people have a fish allergy and they can't take fish oil. There's the people who need the algae oil, but I think you're going to be okay, Cinda, from what it sounds like. But good luck with your Graves' disease. Abigail asks a loaded question. How long does it take to detox from mycotoxins? It depends how long you're exposed is a big factor, and the state of your health. Like when you got exposed, I think length of exposure is a really big factor. Like you're super lucky if you realize in, 3 to 6 months that you are in mold and you get out. Most people don't have that kind of luck, so to speak. They're in it for a long time before they realize. So, first you have to get away from the source, and you have to get your foundations and you start detoxing. I think a lot of the mold can move out of your body fairly quickly unless it's colonized, which we can talk more about. And then it's really like rebuilding the body systems. It's the longest, I think. So, maybe, I don't know, in a year, like the mold is mostly out of your body, but you're still catching a lot of colds, your hormones are off. Um, so, you know, I think there's some people who could recover, maybe get a lot of it done in like 6 months if they weren't for long. I can think of one client of mine. I don't think she's here today, but she was in an apartment that pretty clearly like there was water like leaking in, like it was pretty obvious. So they tried to remedy it. This went back and forth. I don't think she was in there that long. Yeah, maybe like 6 months. So she got out. She's really careful with her stuff. And she had a lot of her symptoms, like, mostly gone fairly quickly. She had professional help. And when I say fairly quickly, maybe like within a year. Um, so again, that's sadly kind of like best case scenario. I mean, maybe if she had broken her lease the first month, that would have been really best case scenario. But at least, she took action, that kind of thing. So for me, I was in my moldy house 8, 9 years without knowing. And then, was out, but then got like a little bit of re-exposure. I was under a lot of stress. I had a baby. My systems were pretty broken down. So I got initially some improvement just from being out of mold, exercising. And then I moved back to the Pacific Northwest. I don't think I was in a moldy and I was recovering. I was under stress again. And then when I moved to Arizona, there was some, again, relief, but I still had a lot of body system stuff to rebuild. So it's like I was working, I was exercising, I sort of looked okay from the outside, but I really wasn't recovered. So I think that there's just so many stages and steps if you've been exposed for a long time. Um, like my son, we never had him tested initially. I did have him test later, but he was never even really that symptomatic. And he was basically like living in the mold colony the whole time. So everybody's kind of different. So I think a lot of his like age is what helped him, although I do hear about newborn babies getting, coughs and stuff like that. So I think, as part of it's like your constitution and how you're processing, the amount of exposure. And I really do think like your self-care and getting outside. I mean, I hope it doesn't come off as corny that I'm like, get outside in nature. Like, I really think it helps a lot. So if you are trying to recover from mold, but you're like in a job you hate and you're always indoors and you're in an unhealthy relationship, like how are you going to get better? Like your environment isn't supporting you. So sometimes that's why you have to go to some extremes to really change your environment so that you can heal. So that was a bit of a soapbox, but I hope that helped as an example. Oh, Cinda says she has heavy metals. I'm sorry. I don't think our CoQ10 is animal sourced. It's not from like heart or anything. I think it's synthetic, so to speak. L-methionine, I don't think I use that one much. I don't even know if that's in my book. Oh, the capsule is bovine. Um, yeah, so there's some other sources of CoQ10. Hold on, I want to check something out. Oh, you're right. There's a bovine capsule. It's like a gel inside, so that's probably why they make it a bovine. Like it's a very thick capsule. There is one I saw Dave Asprey advertise recently that is very expensive, but it's some super fancy CoQ10. There's a brand MitoQ that we used to sell. I like that a lot. I don't know what I don't. It's like a powder in a capsule, so that one might be okay for you. I know, isn't this the cutest romper? I got it for $10, which just makes it even better. And methionine, I'm sorry, I'm not as familiar with it, but try the MitoQ. I really like that brand. I think it's really great. Okay, any other questions? You guys are like so easy today. Let me just make the announcements again if you think of anything. So next Thursday at 2 Pacific, we'll do our kind of wrap-up call and case study. If you'd like to be a case study, please come on live. If we have a small group like this, everyone could maybe be a case study. If you do buy the binder, which is returnable if it makes you poop too much, or you could just do a half a capsule. That call will be on 6/9. I think it'll be a pretty interesting call. And then on 6/13, we will have Jason Earl from Got Mold with our last call, and that'll be more about like the house and inspections and stuff. And these always like will live on, on YouTube and stuff. So if you can't make it live, we'll make sure you get the recordings. Oh, yeah, colonization. So, there's two ways you can be sort of stuck with mold longer than you'd like to be. One is if you don't actively detox by making sure you're pooping, taking binders if you can tolerate it, sweating. Some people make the mistake of just moving out of a moldy home and doing nothing, and they can still test for mold like 5 years later because the bile gets recycled back in, and then the mycotoxins, and there's other like mold components. It just keeps going. So that's one way. Another is colonization. So you are a wet environment, mold can get in you. It definitely can colonize the gut and the nose, possibly the lung or other areas. So later in treatment, you can consider doing like that Marcon's testing or protocol, like we mentioned, and then get an oat test to see if you have colonization in the gut, or just kind of assume you do and do a protocol with a practitioner that breaks down some biofilms with something like an enzyme or biocidin or para. Which para is it? Para 1, I think. And then, be like just disrupting and rebuilding the microbiome for colonization in the gut. But the oat test does indicate colonization, although I think there can be false negatives too, in my opinion. So definitely do the first step and be actively like detoxing and pooping and binding, not getting exposed, and then think about those two areas. Oh no, the mark on swab test is fine. I think it's fine. Is you just do it yourself at home. Cinda asked about doing castor oil packs in the sauna. So the pack from Queen of Thrones has like a kind of like a felt, and then it is a little plasticky. Um, so that's the one I use, and it is kind of getting warmed up in the sauna. But I don't know if you're concerned about the plastics or just how to do it. But um, I don't know. I feel like I've got like a detox essential oil and I've got the castor oil, so I'm not as worried about like the plastic coming through. I really just like that packet's really tidy, and then I'm already taking a shower after I use the sauna. So to me, it's like perfect. If I use the sauna a couple times a week, uh, I'm good. I'm out of mold, so you might want to do it more than that. I think it's just a perfect combo. It works really great for me. I used to do it when I did coffee enemas in the bathtub, but this is better because I have less to clean up later. I don't think it's that bad. I mean, now we've all been COVID tested, so it's like the same. It's actually, well, it might be deeper, but it's not bad. So just to touch on Marcon's nasal infection a bit more, basically, if you've got your immunity weakened or possibly mold colonization in the nose, you can get this infection that is called multiple antibiotic resistant something something staph infection. Um, and that can make you make less melatonin, so you're not quality of sleep isn't as good, and melatonin is also good for immunity, as we learned with COVID. I did get tested and was positive. I did a whole protocol. I was still positive. I guess I maybe kind of did the protocol again and I never retested. I just was sort of getting better over time. Um, Marcus can be stubborn. It's like kind of better just like wait till you're getting better. You can also go work with an ND or MD, and they can get you this antibiotic nasal spray that is kind of a whole thing. It's called big spray, and you can do that. Maybe it's a little more effective. It is a little stubborn. I think when your immune system like comes up over time, that helps too, and that's kind of like supporting the whole body. So this is like a different theory of healing. Is like I mentioned with the gut, you could test and go after different infections, or you could just like work on this foundational support and rebuilding the gut. I think same for the body and the immune system. Like you can go after different infections, and that may be totally what you need, or you can like lift the whole system with like antioxidants and stuff. So just kind of presenting two different theories. And I did do things like, you know, work on infections and spray out my nose and all that stuff. So Yeah, it's I don't know if there's like any right answer, but I don't feel worried about Marcons just because in general my health is so much better now. Oh my gosh, Cinda. Yeah, how interesting. Well, you might be a good candidate for some Marcon. So I'll share Cinda's comment. You may be an interesting candidate for some people like you who have chronic issues are very sensitive to what they spray in their nose, though. I don't know if that's you. So you, yeah, I'm glad you're getting help. Is this, glad you're getting treatment, but this might be involved, huh? In your case, if you didn't know about it. Oh, Crystal has like the same problem. Yeah, if you're yeah, you might be having some. Also, melatonin's made in the gut. I think more of it's made in the gut than it's made in like the nose or the brain or whatever. Like, I think it's just related. So it could also be gut health for sure. And everybody's gut is messed up when they have mold. So it's okay to megadose melatonin if you need it. If it works for you, it's okay. Like I think it's gotten like this bad rap, but like we saw in COVID, like sometimes megadosing melatonin was like super helpful for people. Um, yeah, you can reuse the castor oil pack. The one, yeah, whether you make your own from like flannel or you use the one that we promote, you can reuse it. And I think this may be the last question. Does intermittent fasting help your detox? Yes, but you may not be able to tolerate it right now. It just could be too intense for you because your brain is hungry for fuel and it's struggling. So to not be eating can be not the best solution. So that can be more of like a down the road solution. And it doesn't have to be super extreme. It could just be like you eat your meals between, say, like even 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. That's a pretty gentle one. But you could also do like 8 to 6. That's 12 hours. And then, don't be snacking the entire time. But intermittent fasting, I like the term time restricted eating a little better because intermittent fasting sounds like just more drastic and it doesn't always have to be like so drastic. So, um, you could do like an 8 hour eating window. But yeah, again, I would really like if you feel like you're struggling with energy and you have a lot of food sensitivities and you're not getting enough nutrition, taking out eating isn't always the best idea. One benefit it does have is there's certain bacteria, gut bacteria, that can only be produced when you fast. Um, so you do want to encourage, all your bacteria to grow, the friendly bacteria. Um, but even I think like a 12-hour window at night could be enough for that. So I think I have some information about it in the book. I would just like experiment, So often when I do a coffee enema on the weekends, I'll just have like lemon water, like that. But I got in the habit of not um, eating breakfast, eating a late breakfast. And when I was on my continuous glucose monitor, I really found that that wasn't a good idea. We need to get like that protein in the morning. It's when you digest carbs the best. I think it's just it's because we are kind of on the go that we don't really appreciate breakfast anymore. But like if we all got up at like 6 a.m. and like did work on the farm, we'd probably be ready for breakfast at 8 and we'd have a big breakfast. I think that's more ideal to have that big hearty breakfast rather than skipping breakfast. So if you do experiment with fasting, I would like do the earlier dinner, perhaps instead of the other way around. So, but yeah, you can experiment. David Jockers has some good books on it. There's some good books out there. Oh, I like what your doctor's doing, Cinda. That sounds awesome. Cool. Okay, I'll take this last question. So Susan asked about treating fungal overgrowth before detoxing mold. Yeah, it's generally not recommended because the fungus is just going to come back. So, like, candida is like super opportunistic. And if your gut microbiome is messed up, it's just going to like come back. You can also dump it into your house. So you have to clean your house really well. So I would get strong enough and your gut solid enough, like you're really doing better. You're in a mold-free space. Um, you can handle some treatment protocols. And I think Susan, you're the one who said you can only eat like rice. I don't know if that was you, but if that's you, you can't be doing like candida protocol. And so you got to get stronger and then you can do candida protocol and like clean the house. That's another one a bit like Marcos. It can be hard to get rid of. Um, but we do sell some products for that. And it can be a real drag on your system, like keep your brain fogged and stuff like that. But I do think again, building that microbiome, building immune system does help. And then maybe when you're strong enough, you hit the candida. Okay, Susan, that was you. Yeah, you're not ready yet for killing candida. It can be intense too. Um, so all the gut killing can be pretty intense. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. Really appreciate you being on live and all your fun questions. I will see you in 8 days on next Thursday to do some case studies and talk about lab testing and kind of wrap it up. Oh, I should also mention if you haven't left a review of the book, I'd really appreciate it. You just leave it on Amazon. You just click on the reviews and then you can leave a review. And then I have this like bonus, super secret bonus I'm calling. Like once you leave a review, you can go get your bonus. I don't want to tell you what it is because it ruins the mystery, but it actually has some things to do with what we talked about today. It's like a very practical little helper. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.